Joe Rush is going on Thursday. I'm going to go. I wasn't going to go. I didn't buy tickets. A friend of mine called me up the other day and said, "What are you doing Sunday?" I said, "I'll go to the final round with you." So we're going to go to the final round. The weather's supposed to be nice. It will be crowded. It will be crazy. And you know what? We'll just take it all in because it is very nice to see crowds and activity in St. Louis for a good purpose.
Yeah, we had a good time. I mean, the company that Becky worked for, that your wife works for, they had a hospitality tent. We got to drink cocktails at 9 in the morning and have a good time. But after a couple hours, I was like, yeah, okay, I've had the experience. I'm ready to go now. Tell me this: is this tournament held in St. Louis every year? It's not held.
No.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Your memory's correct. So I had to go back. I pay attention to golf probably more than most people, but I don't like live and breathe it. I just know the basics. The 4 major golf championships are over for the year, right? So the majority of the golf year is over. Chris, they created this FedEx Cup championship a few years ago to kind of keep people watching golf in August. So for the month of August, they have 3 tournaments. I think they start with the top 100 players in the world. And that was this past weekend in Memphis, the St. Jude Classic.
Right.
The St. Jude Classic takes the top 100 to the top 50. So the BMW Championship is this week at Bellerive in St. Louis. It is only the top 50 qualifying golfers in the world. Yeah. And after this week, it'll cut down to 30, and then they'll have the final next week at Eastlake, which is in Georgia, Atlanta. It is the course that Bobby Jones grew up playing on. And so the BMW Championship rotates around the country. You remember it back in 2001. The last time it was here was 2008. And Camilo, if I get his name right, Camilo Villegas won the 2008 BMW at Bellerive. It has not been back to Bellerive. Since then, the PGA Championship was here about 8 years ago, and Brooks Koepka won that one. Yeah. So Bellerive is a beautiful club. It is right in the middle of the county of St. Louis, which is why they have so many traffic issues, because it's in old school St. Louis County, and it's like hard to get there from here. And so we're going to probably have to park at the St. Louis Family Arena, and then they have free shuttle buses over. And I thought that was a long way. I looked it on the map. It's only 12 minutes. So they're going to run you straight down 141. And I'm excited to go. Like you said, though, I hope my buddy is like, I kind of would like to maybe, gates open at 7 a.m. I'd like to go in the morning, watch the first few hours, and then get the heck out of there before the crowds and watch the rest of it at home in the air conditioning.
Come to think of it now, the one that I attended was 2008. That's the one I went to because I know it was a significant day to it, but like my best friend Sherman, former state rep, he died like a week later on that day that we went. So that I knew it had some personal significance to me. But, yeah, the one I went to was in 2008.
I was there briefly. I don't remember why. I remember going. I remember Suzanne was with me. We walked around. We saw the winner. We saw Camilo Villegas at one point walking past us. I don't remember much more about it. I went to the – Bellerive has hosted a ton of PGA.
Yeah, they have.
They're like the course that's willing to do it. First of all, by the way, members generally hate these tournaments because the course is shut down for weeks. Now, it's a prestigious thing. Some of the members probably do love it. It's great. It's notoriety. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of It's a lot of wear and tear on the course. Bellerive looks absolutely gorgeous, though, because we were there on Sunday. They had a senior event there, like in 2002 or 2003. And, again, we went for a day, and Arnold Palmer walked right past me. And that was the one time I saw the guy in real life. He was old then, but he still could hit a golf ball. And it was so cool seeing one of the true legends of the sports world.
Tell me this. Is there another golf course in the St. Louis area that could hold a major PGA event, or is Bellerive pretty much the spot that people go to? Is there another course that's just as good?
There are several, but they probably just don't want to do it because it's a lot of work, wear and tear. Now, the one other course that did have a senior event, the senior PGA used to have their senior PGA Open or the senior PGA Championship at Boone Valley.
Oh, really?
In Defiance. The problem with Boone Valley is a really beautiful course. It's owned by the Taylor family, who own Enterprise. Very exclusive course. I actually do a little outing there every year for a fundraiser. And the problem with Boone Valley is it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-lane road. And I heard the problem was it just became too much hassle getting people in and out of there, and there's nowhere for people to stay. Yeah. they have to stay in St. Louis County or St. Charles. So Boone Valley did host a senior level.
Okay.
Oh, and one other course.
Everything always seems to be at Belle Reve whenever they have something major.
They're set up to do it. They're set up to do it. One other course that used to have the women's, the LPGA Open, was out in Eureka by me, a course called Fox Run.
Okay.
And Fox Run hosted the LPGA Women's Open or whatever it was for several years. And then they were like, yeah, okay, Michelob Ultra sponsored that.
Okay.
They were like, all right, we did it. We did it for 5 years or 10 years or whatever. We're done doing it. It is a lot of wear and tear on the course. The course is shut down for like a month. Some of the members love it. Some of the members hate it. Yeah. And I think that's why Belle Reve has just gotten a reputation for putting on a heck of a show, doing it really well. And, Chris, I think the players like Belle Reve because Belle Reve's like 15 minutes from the airport.
Yeah,
there's a lot of nice homes to stay in. I bet people rent their homes out to the pros. Yeah. And it's an easy and it's a manageable course for the pros. For us, Belle Reve would be a challenge. For the pros, I think they love it because it's a gettable course for them. The greens are big and forgiving. I think they've got the rough grown up with all this rain, and they have tightened the fairways up. So it's a Robert Trent Jones Classic, and I hope everybody who has a chance goes out and sees the tournament this week. The weather's supposed to be really good later on in the week.
I just want to say I was out yesterday for a medical procedure. I'll tell you what it was. It was my first ever colonoscopy. You are supposed to get these at 45. I'm 60. So I was well overdue, and clean bill of health. Colon was clean, no polyps. Maybe that's a little too much information for
Congratulations.
people, but I was very happy about that. And I got to tell you, one of the reasons why I never wanted to get a colonoscopy because my wife just does not do well with the prep. She's had 2 of them, and she's hugging the toilet and throwing up all night. And I was always like, if that's what it takes to get a colonoscopy, I don't want any part of that. But I was pleasantly surprised. The prep, it just tasted like salty water to me. I mean, you do go to the bathroom often, but that was what I was more afraid of more than anything was dealing with this prep.
Well, you have been my inspiration for Men's Health because of everything. You have been my you've been like our vanguard here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show.
Guinea pig.
Because you and I are both we both really got bad with taking care of ourselves. Yeah. And you were my inspiration for reestablishing a primary care physician, which I did. And because of the other situation you went through with flying colors. Mm-hmm. And I got my blood work done because of you. Good. And I now also will be scheduling my colonoscopy
there you go.
Because of you. So, Chris, you and I are like, we are like Men's Health brothers here. And Chris, I hope we're an inspiration to all the guys out there who've been putting, look, Chris and I are big babies when it comes to this stuff. And with needles and blood and colonoscopies, we're doing fine. We're doing it well. We're crushing it. Yeah. And you guys need to go to your doctors too. Make sure you get your checkups. Make sure you get your blood work. Make sure you do your tests. I'm going to be scheduling mine as well as the other thing I have to do is that, this is much simpler. It's that heart scan thing.
I have that.
Yeah. I'll be doing that too. So guys, I know the ladies are probably like, yeah, we go to the doctor every 6 months, My wife is really good about going to the doctor. I'm horrible. But we're getting back into it, and so congratulations to you for doing that yesterday. I'm so happy you're well, and everybody else needs to do this too.
And my PSA to everyone is, especially to men, do your annual checkups, get your tests done, because all of this stuff, if you have an annual checkup, if they catch this stuff early, it's very, very curable or treatable if you catch it early. And the colonoscopy, now I don't have to have another one for 10 years.
Wow.
So I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
PSA, that gets checked every year. That stuff, you check that stuff regularly, you can keep the disease away from you.
In today's world, so much is preventable.
Yes.
And the other thing, like my diet wasn't horrible before I finally went back and got a primary care and all that. But because of all this, I've made my diet better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know you have too. You've made some changes.
Most definitely.
I have, like you, I've tried to cut out all sugar. I drink a lot more water. I have been exercising more. I've been eating better, less alcohol, blah, blah, blah. And so I think just getting in that mode of thinking about health makes you want to be more healthy.
Yeah, and you start realizing, when you get near our age that, the sand in the hourglass is not as much in it as it was a few years ago. And you know that you're kind of near, maybe the downside of life. So you want to make sure that you're healthy. And then your final years, you want to make sure that you have a lot of final years and that you can be healthy. And, in 5 days on the 23rd, it'll be 1 year for me of not drinking sodas. I completely cut them out. Sodas have 9 tablespoons of sugar in 12-ounce can of soda. That's a lot of sugar.
Well, that's a big life change that you made for the better. All right. We did our golf update. We did our men's health update. I can hear Jeff Allen. When are you guys going to get to, like, the show? This is important stuff,
it is
people.
Important stuff. Men's health.
All right. We've got a big show for you here today. Chris and I are both in the studio. Producer Joey V is hiding behind this bank of screens. And producer Lauren is at the con today doing a fantastic job on the Wheels of Steel. Lauren, can I ask you a question? Can you do two things at once? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Everything okay over there?
Yeah, things fine.
Chris and I wouldn't know the difference.
Can we tell people what your nickname is, or you want to keep that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in radio since 2018, and along the way, I met the great Smash, who St. Louis greatly knows, and he dubbed me Lolo.
Lolo.
So
sounds like a band.
It does sound like a band.
Yeah. Well, Lolo is on the Wheels of Steel today,
right.
and we've got a big show for you today. Let me run through it really quickly here. David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. It feels like, Chris, you guys' hometown is always in the news here.
Yeah.
University City, in a budget crunch. Well, welcome to the party. They're considering cuts to employee pay, repairs, and tree trimming. We'll talk all about that, and about a midtown taxing district heading to the city of St. Louis alderman. Chris's Corner at 4:45.
Yeah, you know, there's three primary elections, one in Wyoming, Alaska, and another state. And the candidate that was running in Alaska got an endorsement from Kamala Harris that she didn't want.
Uh-oh.
And so I'm going to give you the details of that at 4:45.
Primary day on Chris's Corner. Speaker stump speech. The Democratic motto these days seems to be, we know our ideas are bad, and we have no idea how to pay for them. Wait till you hear how much the price tag is for the newly unveiled DSA platform. It is astronomical, even for the leftists. At 5:25, our old friend, our good friend, Joe Steiger, business manager for the St. Louis Police Officers Association, back on. Chris caught a great story today. The fact that the SLPOA is claiming that Mayor Kara Spencer debated officer pay during an officer's funeral.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
Bad timing.
We're going to talk to Joe about that and the general mood among police officers in the embattled city of St. Louis. 5:45 p.m. Chris, what do you got on stock for us today?
You remember last week I did an email on the email servers that are not allowing conservative fundraising emails to go to their folders. Well, there's an update on that story, and I'll tell you what it is at 5:45.
Find out what big tech is up to then, along with the very interesting story behind the story today, a famous festival. That's all we're going to tell you for now. A famous festival on Larry Connor's USA. Chris will let you know all about that in the 5:45 p.m. segment. All right, we're going to get to the 4:25 p.m. segment. That's right around the corner. It's 4:23. David Stokes joining us next on today's Tim Jones and Chris Arps show here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms with heavy rains and some gusty winds overnight into early Wednesday morning. This will probably make for a slower Wednesday morning commute with a low of 71. Clouds and an isolated shower thunderstorm linger into the afternoon to evening, a high of 81 degrees. Cooler because of all the clouds and the rain, but the heaviest rain will be in the morning hours. Thursday, partly cloudy and a high of 85. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Let me ask you, is 2026 the year you finally buy that home? You know, summer is the home buying season. If it is, Royal Banks, Missouri is the kind of place you want on your side if you're about to do that. Their mortgage team doesn't just hand you a rate and send you on your way. They actually walk you through the whole process, and that really matters because there's no call center, there's no out-of-town decision maker. You're dealing with local people who know this market and are working for you. Now, maybe you already are in your home, but you've been thinking about making it better, maybe a backyard upgrade, a patio, maybe finally taking the family trip you've been putting off. That's where a home equity line of credit comes in. It gives you the flexibility to use the value you've already built in your home to actually enjoy your life a little more. It's simple, it's convenient, and it gives you peace of mind. Give Royal Banks a call today at 314-212-1500 or visit royalbanksofmo.com to get started. Royal Banks, Missouri, investing in our communities one client at a time. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, listen, guys. Take this advice. Remember, always in life. And to each heart.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
After one of the hottest weekends of the year and a big piece of St. Louis, you couldn't safely drink from your own tap again.
As many as 50,000 residents are affected by the current water boil.
Down at the water division, they'll tell you they had a backup plan. Trouble is, the storm took that out too.
We have 2 redundant lines that go into the facility. Unfortunately, both of those lines had failures. I don't know if it was on Ameren's end or our end.
Age itself has become an unlikely guardian.
Our stuff is really old, so it breaks, but our stuff is so old, they can't take over it.
Some of this cyber activity is very advanced. Our infrastructure is not as advanced, and so in some cases it does add a level of protection.
David Stokes over at the Show Me Institute. In high school, you talk about spike. I had a very short spiked. It was
I knew there's a spike somewhere in there.
It wasn't very punky. It was more Leave It to Beaver-ish, maybe.
And as he does every Tuesday, David Stokes. David, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine, gentlemen. Good to talk to both of you.
All right. Speaking of water, David, a story in the Post-Dispatch yesterday said that tens of thousands of unmetered city properties are paying water and MSD charges based on estimates. It just never ends, does it?
Well, right. It's been that way for a long time. You know, you're in the city of St. Louis. They never adopted water meters for all homes. They should have done this 60, 70 years ago. So you have homes that don't have meters, and, you know, you can do it by, it's historically been done by frontage with an addition for based on how many bathrooms or if you have a swimming pool. But it doesn't surprise me at all that they're being done by estimates now. You know, the city, to the city's credit, you know, they did pass a bill this year to require water meters in all new construction in the city or in major rehabs. So that's good. I wish they would have required it in the adoption in every home to wireless meters. Let's sort of skip the whole wired meter thing and just go straight to wireless. They're not doing that, but this bill sponsored by Alderman Devote, certainly a very good bill to at least require in all new construction and rehabs.
Yeah, David, isn't it amazing in today's world where it seems like we usually are arguing about the fact that we have too much tech or we have too much observation or we have too much measurement of what we do. The good old city of St. Louis still seems like it's in the early 1900s when it comes to a lot of this.
Right, and they're saying in there how they're immune from cyber attack because it's so old. I guess that's definitely looking at the silver lining of the situation. Sure, I get it. Like I like everybody. If I have to buy one more $2 item at a store and sign up for some app to get the $2 item, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, do we have too much tech in our everyday lives? Like this. As somebody put it on social media a few days ago that I thought was funny, no, I don't want to join your rewards program. No, I don't want to give you my cell phone. No, I don't want to do all this stuff. I just want to give you $1 and have you give me that popcorn. Like, that's all I want. But, everything is so complicated now. So, yes, good for the old city to have a water system that, sure, it may break a lot, but it's immune from Chinese counter cyber attack.
Speaking with David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. David, our municipality, University City, is back in the news again. Earlier this year, it was regarding the golf course and that debacle of spending $1 million for a drainage system that basically didn't work. Now, University City is in a budget crunch. When I read the article, it seems like the one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. The new city administrator says that money is low. Another part of government says that it's not, that the accounts just need to be reconciled. I know one of the reforms that they're talking about is privatizing the trash pickup. Your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, let me quickly take the first part. They say in there, the mayor's quoted in there saying he doesn't seem too worried about it. They'll get it all sorted out soon. But This is the financial reports of the third biggest city in St. Louis County. Like, it should be already reconciled. The idea that they're having any trouble at all finding where the money is crazy and inexcusable. And, you want to credit the new city manager for taking some difficult choices and difficult steps, and good for her. But she was the deputy city manager beforehand. It's not like she's immune from these problems. So that's annoying, but I want to focus a little more on the big picture, and I've got an article I was working on today because we have a new Show Me Institute Free Market City series coming out in a week or so, and the next series is all about how to operate public health and sanitation departments in a limited government free market way. So booyah, wonderful for you. This is good. It's a good tease for my project. Absolutely, the city of University City should outsource their trash. I mean, it's crazy that they haven't. Almost all of their neighboring cities do what most cities do, which is go put your trash service to bid, let companies bid on it for a 3, 4, 5-year contract, and then hold their feet to the fire and make sure they do the job, whoever wins the bid. Clayton contracts out for its trash service, Olivet, Overland, Pagedale, all of them. University City just absurdly manages its own trash system, and if you read the article in the Post, does a very poor job of it. They won't charge enough to make money from it because politicians don't want to charge their voters. They are constantly loaning money to the trash department from the general fund that never gets paid back. They're not collecting. There's $1 million in uncollected trash bills, which is infuriating because the city doesn't have the will to collect that money. So outsource the trash department, outsource the golf course management. I mean, there's all this low-hanging fruit that University City should jump at. Yet, and I hope maybe a crisis will force them to finally do it.
David, we talk about this all the time, don't we? Government has a really bad habit of, in times of largesse, like the COVID era, where they had tens of millions, all these local governments received millions, if not tens of millions of dollars. They tend to all then decide to get into areas where government never belongs in the first place, right? And then the money dries up and goes away, and they got these programs in place, and they have no way of paying for them anymore.
Right, like why is University City managing its own golf course? Like it's great. I'm not saying sell the golf course. I've played Ruth Park plenty of times in my life. My kids play it. It's a fine little municipal golf course. I'm not saying sell it, but outsource the management of it to companies that specialize in running golf courses. All the Forest Park golf courses both the main three right there off of Skinker and Lindell and the Highlands. They're all managed by outside companies or outside operators who really know how to run golf courses and driving ranges and all that stuff. And they do a great job. And I, as someone who's golfed in Forest Park my whole life, I remember how much better those courses got after the city of St. Louis outsourced their management to private companies 25, 30 years ago. University City absolutely needs to do the same thing, and they absolutely need to outsource the trash. Put it out to bid. Let Republic, let Waste Management, let other companies. There's plenty of companies that do this in the St. Louis area. Let them bid to give the best price and the best service to University City residents and do it that way. The fact that University City still operates their own system is absurd.
David, isn't the bottom line that this is basically just a jobs program? I mean, University City is hiring people to pick up trash. University City is hiring people to run the golf course. That it's basically a jobs program, and that's why they won't privatize this out.
Yeah, it does come down to that. And look, the days of real political machines like Pendergast, Kansas City, and St. Louis, 40, 50, 60 years ago, I get that the job padding is much less than it used to be. I understand that, but it still exists, and it's there, as you said, in University City, having 20 or so. I don't know how many people work in the trash department. I'm going to guess about 20. But 20 people on that city payroll who don't need to be there, 20 people who should be working in the private sector for Waste Management or Republic or else, so that their long-term health costs, their long-term pension benefits are not on the University City taxpayers and on the University City books. It's the management like this that gets cities like University City in trouble, and you see it all the time, and it's very frustrating.
David, there was a story in the Wall Street Journal today that reminded me of you because we've talked about this topic before as regards St. Louis many times in the past. And, David, the story in the Wall Street Journal was on Baltimore, the city of Baltimore's successful tackling of its vacant property problems, something that the city of St. Louis absolutely has as well. And, David, a part of the story mentioned that thousands of Baltimore vacant homes, which for decades had dragged down neighborhoods and repelled investment, are now in demand. Every neighborhood is not yet participating in this recovery, but the spike in demand in some parts of Baltimore has helped it cut its vacancy by over 33% over the last 10 years and jump-started plans to eliminate the problem entirely by 2038. Now, David, I know that Baltimore is considered the maybe more affordable region of the East Coast, right? So for East Coasters, it's like a bargain basement deal right now, and St. Louis is, definitely far from either coast. But is that a program that the city of St. Louis could maybe look to maybe deal with some of this similar problem we have here?
Well, my colleague Patrick Toohey, who's a friend of the show, he's written about this for Show Me Institute. I think he has a blog post just up on it in the past day or so, or going up very shortly. So Patrick's been writing about this, and Patrick would say that much of this, even though it's been happening for a couple of years, much of this is due, A, to the point you made, that in New Jersey, Philadelphia, D.C., the home prices are so crazy that it finally drives some people to Baltimore. But Patrick's main point is that this is following Baltimore finally getting a handle on its murder rate in the past couple of years, and that you have seen modest reductions in crime and homicides in Baltimore. It's still way too violent, just like St. Louis is still way too violent. But we've seen small reductions in homicide rates in the city of St. Louis. I hope we see a lot more of that. And if Patrick was on this show, as he is frequently, I think he'd say that the residents and the purchasers and the redevelopment, they follow the getting a hold of the crime. And I think if there's one lesson the city of St. Louis should take from this, it's that, yes, people want affordable houses and people like affordable houses in urban areas where you can get a lot done, but it's not going to happen till you get a hold of the crime. And at this crime rate, still, even with the reductions in it in the past year or two, it's still very high comparatively, and you got to get a hold of that. And then hopefully these tens of thousands, I think it's actually about 9,000 homes that the city owns now in the land bank, many of which are not inhabitable, but some of which are. And if you can get a hold of the crime problem, then yeah, hopefully a few hundred or a few thousand of those would be people would want to take them off the city's hands for incredibly low prices and build a neighborhood and build a community. But you can't do that with the murder rate as it is.
Dave, the St. Louis County Council recently approved $3 million in emergency funding for the jail medical staffing. They're saying that the facility actually needs about $36 million in infrastructure work over the next 5 years. Where is that money going to come from?
Well, I don't know where it's going to come from, but I don't dispute the need of it. Jail medical services are incredibly important and expensive. You know, you have to pay good nurses. Nurses have a lot of choices or they're going to work. They've got a lot of choices and a lot of salary, and most nurses don't choose to work in a prison or a jail. So you got to pay them good money to come there, those doctors as well. And not surprisingly, prisoners demand a lot of medicine, and you have to get that medicine right, and you have to get it to them on time, or else situations get very dangerous. So I'm glad the council approved that money. And as for infrastructure, look, the jail's not that old. It was built, I want to say, I'm pretty sure it was built in the late 90s, right before I went to work for the county council. But that said, a jail is not something you can delay infrastructure investment in. Like, you can do that to a park, a park bench and a picnic area in a park. You can say we'll get to that next year. A jail, you need to keep it up for everybody's safety, including the employees who work there. So how you find that money, I don't know. I would hope. I've high hopes for Representative Murphy's demands for investigation into the Prop C police funds to see how they were misspent around the county over the last several years, as all this money that voters approved for police ended up going for very broadly defined public safety initiatives. Like, voters approved for public safety. They meant police and presumably jails, and yet everything like roads, fixing potholes, well, that's public safety, and that's true, but that's not what the money was spent for. So now you've got the county executive, Sam Page, saying he's going to have to cut police in St. Louis County, concerns about jail infrastructure. Prop C was supposed to address that, and it didn't. So, again, I commend Representative Murphy for demanding investigation into where all those funds went around St. Louis County.
Tim, I think we got time for one more question about the taxing district, maybe.
Well, I was going to maybe bring up his events.
Oh, go ahead.
Up.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, David, I see that everybody's going back to school. Everybody's going back to work from vacation. Show Me Institute looks like it's getting geared up for the fall as well. I think you have a bunch of events coming up on the horizon.
We have one here in a few minutes at Cafe Napoli in Clayton. I'm parked right out front. I'm going to go into that in a moment. And, we talk about you talk about the boil water order. That's been a pain. My son goes to SLU High, where you and I both went, Tim, and they've got you can use the bathrooms. They haven't closed school, but everybody's been told to bring their own water bottles for the day because they got no water for people to drink there. So I'm not claiming for a second that that's like living through what the tens of thousands of residents in the city are going through, but we're experiencing it in a small way too. So what do we got? I know we have an event in Columbia on Thursday at the Columbia Country Club. For your listeners online who might be in Central Missouri, there's still time to join. And then next week, I think it's next Thursday, we have an event at the MAC West Policy Talk. And both tonight at Napoli and next week at MAC West, we'll be discussing in part data centers. And that always brings out the fans. So hopefully we'll get a good crowd next week at MAC West.
And that's David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, showmeinstitute.org, and on X, David C. Stokes. David, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great event tonight at Bar Napoli.
Thank you very much. Always appreciate talking with you guys, and talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. All right, 444, Chris's Corner. Kamala Harris gave an endorsement. The candidate doesn't want it. I'll tell you more on Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
Hey, listen, guys, take this advice. Remember, always in life, and to each heart, some tears must fall.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps. from the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm Personal Report Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms with heavy rain and some gusty winds overnight into early Wednesday morning. This will probably make for a slower Wednesday morning commute with a low of 71. Clouds and an isolated shower thunderstorm linger into the afternoon to evening, a high of 81 degrees. Cooler because of all the clouds and the rain, but the heaviest rain will be in the morning hours. Thursday, partly cloudy and a high of 85. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
place to talk. News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo. Join us every Wednesday at 3 p.m. as we take a break from the chaotic news cycle and have some fun with Skip Weber and Mark Close when we open Close's Cabinet. Brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Check out what's happening at all 3 locations by going to WeberChevrolet.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story, 1969, the most famous concert in history, Woodstock.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Chris's Corner, brought to you by Timothy's Restaurant at 12710 Olive in Creve Coeur.
Got up at dawn just to be out on the water.
Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps.
But he didn't say nothing about it. Rain.
When it comes to the economy, we're the 14th largest in the world. And we are on the trajectory to being the 10th largest economy on the face of this planet. And then I also got to admit, Joe, we've had some help. Because they elected Mamdani. Longtime business leaders have said, I can't take it anymore. I have to go to a place that just makes sense. And they're choosing Florida. Some of them, if you talk to them, they're like, man, I should have left during COVID.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Former Vice President Kamala Harris recently tried to help Democratic Senate candidate Mary Peltola in Alaska. Instead, Peltola treated Harris's support like an unidentified package left on her front porch. We didn't order this. Please take it back. Harris's political operation sent a fundraising email declaring, quote, if there's anyone who can flip Alaska and secure the Senate majority for Democrats, it's Mary. The appeal asked supporters to donate, with contributions divided between Harris's Political Action Committee and Peltola's campaign. Technically, the email did not contain the words, I endorse Mary Peltola, but when the former Democratic vice president tells voters to give a candidate money because she can deliver the Senate to Democrats, that certainly sounds like political support. Peltola's campaign wanted nothing to do with it. A spokesperson responded, Mary isn't seeking endorsements from anyone from the lower 48. Her focus is always on Alaska. Think about that. Kamala Harris was a Democratic nominee for president less than 2 years ago. She served 4 years as vice president. She remains a possible candidate for president in 2028. Yet a Democratic Senate candidate in a competitive state doesn't want Harris's name anywhere near her campaign. Why? Because Harris lost Alaska to Donald Trump by approximately 13 percentage points in 2024. Her association with the Biden administration's restrictions on oil, gas, and resource development makes her particularly toxic in a state whose economy depends heavily on energy. Peltola understands that winning Alaska requires support from independents, Native voters, moderate Republicans, and working-class Alaskans who may like her personally but want nothing to do with the National Democratic brand. She also understands something Democrats rarely admit publicly. Donald Trump isn't the only politician with damaging political baggage. Kamala Harris has baggage, too. Republican Senator Dan Sullivan's campaign immediately seized upon the email. His spokesman argued that Harris supported the Biden administration's anti-Alaska agenda and said voters can see whose team Harris and Peltola are really on. That is exactly the attack Peltola was trying to avoid. She wants Alaskans to see Mary Peltola, the independent-minded, pro-energy, pro-gun Alaska native who talks about fish, jobs, and local concerns. Republicans want voters to see the deciding vote for a Democratic Senate majority controlled by Chuck Schumer and supported by Kamala Harris. And that is the larger lesson. Democratic candidates can distance themselves rhetorically from their national party. They can decline endorsements, emphasize local unions, and talk about being Alaska first. The voters are entitled to ask what happens after the election. If Peltola wins, which party will she organize with? Who becomes majority leader? Who controls Senate committees? Whose judges and cabinet nominees will move through the chamber? A Senate election isn't merely a personality contest. It determines which party holds power. Peltola's rejection also reveals how far Harris has fallen. Political endorsements are supposed to transfer credibility and enthusiasm. When candidates publicly disclaim your help, your endorsement has become a liability. Kamala Harris tried to send Mary Peltola some political assistance. Peltola's campaign stamped it, "Return to sender." Mary Peltola may not want Kamala Harris' endorsement, but Alaska voters still deserve to know whether electing Peltola means giving Kamala Harris party control of the United States Senate. And that is Chris's Corner. I ask you to follow me on X at Chris_Arps and on Facebook, Christopher Arps Politics. Boy, what a slap in the face.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, boy, talk about the bloom off the rose, huh? Like nobody wants her near them anymore.
And can you blame them? You know, Alaska has their primary tonight, and they have kind of a jungle primary type of situation. You don't run by party. Everyone is on the same ticket, and they've got a little controversy up there. Of course, Dan Sullivan is the current senator. He is a Republican, but another person named Dan Sullivan is on the ballot as well, Tim, and people are thinking that Democrats put him on the ballot, of course, to confuse voters. This Dan Sullivan was interviewed by Politico. This Dan Sullivan said he has never voted for President Trump. He voted for the Democratic nominee in the last 3 presidential elections. He said he voted for Mary Peltola in her bids for the House in 2022 and 2024. He did not vote for Senator Dan Sullivan in his previous 2 Senate campaigns. So is this Dan Sullivan a plant or what?
Yeah, I mean, the links that they got the exact same name.
Exact.
Donald Trump had to tweet out this morning, make sure you vote for the real, of course in all caps, Dan Sullivan. I mean, the games they play in Alaska, they've got a bizarre, as you mentioned, jungle primary ranked choice voting system. I know they keep trying to reverse the ranked choice voting. I hear they may successfully do that this year, possibly. That would be good for them. But their system is quite the mess up there. The Florida one, it looks like Byron Donalds, who we played coming into the segment, looks like he's going to walk away with the nomination. And then Wyoming has a bunch of battles as well. So the primaries just keep rolling. And these will be 3 big states to watch because they're all going to be very important for the November midterm: Alaska, Florida, and Wyoming.
And I didn't know this. The woman who beat Liz Cheney for that Wyoming House seat, she did not run for re-election, so there's a wide-open primary for that seat.
I didn't know that either.
If you remember Harriet Hageman, we met her.
She didn't run for re-election?
She did not run for re-election, which surprises me. And
One
remember,
and done, huh?
We met her in Israel.
Yeah.
She was we saw her there for the trip that the congressmen were there. So I was surprised that she only did, was it 1 term or 2? I guess 1 term.
Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 2. You know, traveling from Wyoming to D.C., I mean, Congress isn't as glamorous. It's an incredible achievement for anyone who gets elected, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. It's amazing. I'm sure it's great. But, you know, you and I both know, because we know people. We know lots of people in Congress. We talk to Dr. Bob every week, Eric Burleson. They'll tell you that, yes, it is an honor and a privilege, and it's also a grind, you know, especially if you have a family or if you have people back home that need your help. And I did not know that, though, that she's not running for real. Who is the odds-on favorite to win?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I know there's like 5 people that are running in that seat. Also, too, we got this Senate primary or runoff in South Carolina.
That too.
Darlene Graham is running against
Ralph Norman.
Ralph Norman, which he was part of the Freedom Caucus.
Yes.
And very conservative, but the one knock against him was he supported. I can't think of anybody's name. He supported the woman that was Nikki Haley in the presidential contest, and I'm sure Donald Trump is not too pleased about that. So
kind of a hometown lady. You kind of probably had to do it.
Exactly.
And boy, talk about two titans. I mean, you've got Darlene Graham, who's got the last name, who's Lindsey Graham's brother. And so, I don't know Darlene Graham from a hole in the wall. She may be fantastic, but she's an unknown quantity. But she, you've got the sympathy factor, the emotion of one of South Carolina's favorite sons. Yeah. And you also have Ralph Norman, who is one of the leaders of the U.S. House Freedom Caucus, deciding to try to come back home.
And she kind of underperformed, though, at 33%, even though she did win, got the most votes in that primary. 33% is not very good for someone who is, quote-unquote, an incumbent. So it'll be very interesting to see how that race shakes out. I think that vote
is that tonight, too?
No, I think that's in next week or a couple of weeks.
Isn't that amazing how fast they did that?
Yeah,
boom,
well,
boom, boom.
They need to. I mean, they got to get somebody in there. And Dr. Fauci is back in the news. Dr. Fauci declined a request to show up before another Senate panel for testimony, Tim. His legal team, in a letter to Senator Ron Johnson, said the push for him to appear before a subcommittee would be to, quote, impermissibly harass or degrade Dr. Fauci for political purposes. So the drama continues. Fauci saying that he will not show up for Ron Johnson's committee. He's just digging himself in deeper and deeper. And they always talk about this was someone who really cared about his public image and his credibility. And one of the senators questioned him. I think it might have been our own Josh Hawley that said, is this how you want to go out, Dr. Fauci, not addressing questions, giving the Fifth Amendment 111 times?
Mm-hmm. Fauci may want to consider moving to a desert island and just enjoying his final days and never being heard from again.
I agree. And finally, ABC sued the FCC today. President Trump is attempting to remove their broadcast license. An FCC spokesperson said the FCC has been examining claims that Disney engaged in illegal DEI discrimination for over a year. So they're saying that this is over DEI things, not over what they broadcast and what President Trump disagrees with. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something we can ask Zach Smith about tomorrow when we have our legal eagle on, because that is another big matter that's hitting the litigation circles.
Exactly. All right, we've got Speaker's stump speech coming up.
Yes, we're going to talk about the price tag of the DSA platform. The Democratic Socialists of America released their platform recently. You're not going to believe the price tag on this thing. If they were able to take every single tax dollar from every single living, breathing person, it still wouldn't be enough. We know our ideas are bad, and we have no idea how to pay for them.
The rich people, the billionaires and the trillionaires, they'll pay for it.
Yes.
And then at 5:23, we'll speak with Joe Steiger. He's the business manager for the St. Louis Police Officers Association. A disturbing story that's reported over the weekend that Mayor Spencer debated officer pay during an officer's funeral. We'll get all of that and more. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Instead of sitting out here in the middle of nowhere.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore for Window World. Did you know that in just over the last 20 years, Window World of St. Louis has improved the look and thermal efficiency for over 80,000 customers in St. Louis? Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues.
If you have a tree that you think is dead, it might not be dead. Why don't you try to save it first with Roots Plus? Roots Plus can help you save your tree and keep your cash. RootsPlusLLC.com. That's RootsPlusLLC.com or 314-440-3662.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education, because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding, because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
News, analysis, opinion. News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. 3 states are holding primaries today. Correspondent Laura Winters takes a look at the races in Florida.
Voters going to the polls today in Florida, Wyoming, and Alaska. Races to watch in Florida include the 20th Congressional District, where incumbent Debbie Wasserman Schultz is running against 4 other Democrats, including Democrat Socialist Elijah Manley, who is anti-ICE. In District 25, DSA-backed candidate Oliver Larkin, who is also anti-ICE, is challenging incumbent Congressman Democrat Jared Moskowitz. Now, as for the governor's race, Republican Congressman Byron Donalds is looking to secure the nomination. He is likely to face Democrat David Jolly in November. Ron DeSantis is term limited.
Alaska voters are narrowing down candidates for a competitive U.S. Senate seat. Wyoming's primary features open seat races after 2 prominent Republican officials announced their retirements. Thousands were without power Monday after Tropical Storm Lala uprooted trees from downtown Honolulu to the Big Island, where intense flash flooding and strong winds isolated already remote communities. At a news conference, Hawaii Governor Josh Green says Tropical Storm Lala has caused flash flooding and damage.
It is the flood damage that's caused the most damage, more than the wind. Without a doubt, wind has affected roofs in some areas. It certainly blew down trees all over the place, but it's the flood and the mud and the rock that poured through Naalehu, Pahala, Waiohinu.
Lala weakened from a hurricane to a tropical storm Sunday after lashing the state without making landfall. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 116 points, the Nasdaq dropped 355, the S&P lower by 53. More at Town Hall.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron. Christian Healthcare Ministries is not another health insurance policy. If you're tired of year-long contracts and pointless restrictions, CHM offers anytime enrollment on your schedule and at your convenience. With CHM, you're paying half the cost of a traditional health insurance plan. So that puts more money back into your budget for everyday needs. Plus, you'll have access to CHM's care solutions for virtual appointments, prescription savings, surgery support, and more. My family and I joined in 2018, and it's changed our lives for the better. We love paying way less while helping other believers afford their medical bills. Take the leap of faith and see why Christians across the nation are better with CHM.
Get started by calling 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS for a 50% credit towards your first month. That's 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms with heavy rain and some gusty winds overnight into early Wednesday morning. This will probably make for a slower Wednesday morning commute with a low of 71. Clouds and an isolated shower thunderstorm linger into the afternoon to evening, a high of 81 degrees. Cooler because of all the clouds and the rain, but the heaviest rain will be in the morning hours. Thursday, partly cloudy and a high of 85. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Mike Ferguson here, and for nearly 40 years, Nutrition Stop has been St. Peter's trusted source for natural living. They've got a great, knowledgeable staff offering more than just products. They provide guidance on your wellness journey with exceptional service. From 100% grass-fed meats like elk and bison and local produce to quality supplements and clean household products, 4101 Mexico Road in St. Peters, just off the interstate at Cave Springs and Highway 70.
Your trees do a lot for you. Shade, beauty, curb appeal, but are they safe? Clever Tree Service has been protecting St. Louis homes and landscapes for over 20 years. Pruning, trimming, removal, stump grinding, even 24/7 emergency storm service. Fully insured, eco-friendly, and always focused on you. From Kirkwood to Chesterfield, Webster Groves to Wildwood, your neighbors trust Clever Tree Service. Visit clevertreeservice.com for your free quote today.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Swedes will vote in a general election next month, where whatever the result, these broader shifts are likely to endure. The country's new model of a leaner state and tighter borders now has broad support across both right and left. Ultimately, the Swedish experience shows a relentless ability to reach consensus in times of crisis and then adapt.
Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Yeah, that's Fareed Zakaria, believe it or not. Chris, this guy is sounding more and more like a Bill Maher liberal every day, pointing out a lot of, he's become like the international version of Bill Maher. That was from a longer clip where Fareed, for folks who don't know, Fareed Zakaria is a kind of an old school liberal guy. He does a show on CNN on Sundays called Fareed Zakaria GPS. He kind of tours the world and talks about a lot of different things, mainly on the international front. He ties a lot back to the U.S. as well. But, Chris, this was a longer segment about the fact that Sweden, which in the minds of many may be an old school Euro socialist state because it was, in recent years, as Fareed pointed out there, they have moved into a much leaner type of state economically. They've gotten rid of a lot of their old socialist tendencies and moved and embraced free market capitalism. And, Chris, they have tightened their borders like so many European countries continue to refuse to do, and they pay the price.
Yeah, they're just joining a long list of countries that are beginning to have right-wing featured governments, and mainly because of the immigration problem. A lot of North African immigrants and immigrants from Africa and really all around the world have basically invaded these countries. They don't want to assimilate. They bring crime. They bring their culture to these European societies that aren't used to marrying 13-year-olds off or being women subjugated to men. And you see, I think it was like a couple of years ago where there was a march in downtown London where some of the citizens there were basically saying we want our country back. It's been overrun by Muslims and other people that don't want to assimilate. And I think Sweden, I couldn't get that out. Sweden joining the long list of other governments that are cracking down on illegal immigration is a great thing. Yeah, and look, Sweden's a small country of about 11 million people, which makes it barely larger than the 5 boroughs of New York. New York City has an estimated population of around 8.5 million. The broader area of New York City, the larger metro, is larger than Sweden with nearly 20 million people. So Sweden is a smaller country, but when things happen there, because it is not huge in population, it tends to feel things a little more dramatically. And
the points you just made, Chris, were exactly why Sweden decided to make a change. They had some really dramatic experiences. They were suffering from large amounts of debt. Their inflation numbers were skyrocketing, and they had a couple of these invasion experiences where they were having to deal with hordes of illegal immigrants. And so, as Fareed Zakaria pointed out, a bipartisan cross-section of Swedes, left and right, were like, the Swedes are very stoic people, right? They were like, look, we have a problem, we're going to fix it. And so they looked at it more in a socioeconomic aspect than more of a political aspect. They were like, okay, we have a screwed up economy, so we have to do something different. So we're going to be more free market, more capitalistic. And we have massive problems with immigration, so we're just going to tighten down our borders. They took a very utilitarian approach. Instead of getting all wrapped around their own axle, they made the changes. And Fareed Zakaria, it was if you watch the whole interview, he kind of has a mixture of admiration or horror. I can't tell which one. I can't tell if Fareed thinks this is a good idea or a bad idea because he's an old school liberal, but he's much more like Bill Maher than like today's Democratic leftists. So.
Yeah, and I had a story in here that's what I was looking for while you were speaking. Just last week, Sweden's Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, he said Spain's decision to grant amnesty to more than 1 million irregular migrants was, quote, a very bad idea, warning that it could push Europe into a repeat of its 2015 migrant crisis. So the Prime Minister was speaking out on this last week.
Yeah, indeed. And so that is in conjunction with what I'm going to talk about in the Speaker Stump Speech, which is the opposite of what Sweden is doing as far as our Democratic Party here in the United States of America, and that's all this playing footsie with softcore socialism and even communism in some aspects. We'll get to that in a minute. And then at 5:25, we've got Joe Steiger joining us, business manager for the St. Louis POA. Unfortunate story here. The St. Louis POA, the Police Officers Association, is alleging that Mayor Kara Spencer was debating officer pay, which is fine, but not where she was doing it, at an officer's funeral.
Yeah.
Just wrong place, wrong time. And see, the problem is now, this just adds to the fuel around the fire that is smoldering between the city of St. Louis police officers and the mayor's office.
Yeah, and I can congratulate her, lack of better words, for going to the officer's funeral. There always hasn't been good relations between the mayor's office and the police department, so I will give her kudos for going to the funeral, but this was not the place to be taking informal surveys regarding officers' disability and their pay.
For sure. At 5:45, Chris has an interesting story, an update on a big tech issue.
Yeah, it's an update on email spam folders that were censoring Republican donation requests.
That at 5:45, along with the big teaser for Larry Connor's USA, including today's story behind the story, which is a recounting of a famous festival, festival celebrating a milestone this year.
And I'll give you a hint. Jimi Hendrix made his debut at this festival.
Indeed. A very famous
that
performance.
That should give it away.
A very famous performance at the famous festival. All that at 5:45. Larry Connors, of course, will begin forthwith after the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show at 6:05 p.m. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get to today's Speaker's Stump Speech.
Listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
I'm so glad you're here. What do you make of Democratic socialists running candidates in Florida where significant Latino population left left-leaning dictatorships and came to the United States? So just hearing the word socialism, even if it starts with Democratic, they panic.
I feel that. This is a moment where the Democratic Party needs to grow. And what we're seeing across the country, whether it's Michigan, whether it is Florida, is that it's going to take different flavors.
So Michigan Democrat Mallory McMorrow there completely discounting the question. If you listen to her closely, she basically says, yeah, if the people who fled socialism and communism in Florida don't like us new democratic socialists, too bad, so sad. We're going to still welcome them. We're going to still welcome them into the party. Yeah, folks, these people don't care about anything except political power. These are bad ideas. largely from really bad people, and they would be really bad for the country. But because the Democrats are bleeding support, right? Where are they bleeding support? They're bleeding support amongst their traditional voting blocks that they have taken for granted for decades. They have always taken for granted that minority Americans, especially Hispanic and Black Americans, would just vote for them. Well, the new polls that are out show that for different reasons, but they get to the same result, Black Americans and Hispanic Americans don't like what the Democratic Socialists of America are selling, so they're not buying it. Blue-collar Americans, working-class Americans who have forever, I think the Democratic Party thinks it owns anybody who swings a hammer or drives a nail for a living. Blue-collar workers are turning away in droves from the Democratic Party, largely because blue-collar workers tend to also be very patriotic Americans, and I celebrate that, and I welcome them into the Republican Party. You know, blue-collar workers tend to be very patriotic. They tend to appreciate and respect law enforcement. They tend to honor our military. They tend to be pro-life. They tend to be pro-Second Amendment. All of these things are things that don't play well in the DSA playbook. Other people who are turning away from the Democratic Socialist playbook, platform, and principles, sane Americans who know how to add, right? And who know that eventually, as Margaret Thatcher once famously said, you're going to run out of everybody else's money if you truly pursue socialism. How can I prove that? Well, there has been an analysis from our good friends at the Cato Institute who have added up all of the costs of the proposed Democratic Socialists of America Party platform. And you're not going to believe this astronomical number. Just to put it into context, remember when Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democrats, when they had the trifecta after the first term of Donald Trump, and they said, oh, we've got to spend all this money to save America, to drag ourselves out of the pandemic. We have to fight the inflation with the Inflation Reduction Act. Well, the Inflation Reduction Act ended up being the Inflation Creation Act. And that, $9-10 trillion? Doesn't that sound quaint, $9 or $10 trillion? It will when I give you this number from the DSA party platform. So $9 or $10 trillion was what I think Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act apparently cost as a price tag. That sent shockwaves through the American economy because that much money had never been spent before at one time by our government. It was traumatic and it was dramatic, and it about deep sixed the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy reeled. The world, the global economy, had shockwaves sent into it because it was a mass injection of made-up fake monopoly money into a system that was already reeling from being shut down from the COVID scandemic. So you have the scamdemic on top of massive trillions of dollars of spending. I think the amount of spending was I think it was a greater amount of spending than all previous presidents combined. Yeah, even Barack Obama overcome by that amount of spending. It was absolutely disastrous. So $9 or $10 trillion. Do you know how much that the Democrat Socialists of America platform will cost if all of their proposals are implemented? $200 trillion. That would even make Elon Musk potentially blush.
That's like 30 times our national GDP.
Probably more than the entire globe put all together. The Democratic Socialists of America, this comes from the article written by Adam McKell from the Cato Institute. The DSA proposes new spending that could more than triple federal outlays. They propose the government pay for, well, pretty much everything, cradle to grave. So basically, you don't have to do anything. Just plug yourself into the matrix and let the government take care of you. Healthcare, housing, higher education, and electricity. Okay, so wait a minute. So they're going to generate the electricity. Who's going to ultimately pay for this? Well, we all are. Jobs are going to be government guaranteed. Retirement benefits are going to be expanded. Paid family leave is universal. Fossil fuels will be eliminated. So I don't know where they're going to get the electricity from. And reparations will be paid to pretty much anyone and everyone who feels oppressed. The DSA platform claims that the bill for all this will be sent to, quote, the richest individuals and corporations. Tally up that bill, and depending on how much you extrapolate it out, on the conservative side, which is kind of funny using that word, it will cost $71 trillion, but it could cost upwards of $212 trillion over the next decade. So here's what would have to be done. You would have to confiscate, and that's what it would be, confiscation of every single dollar of high-end wealth and corporate profits, and then you would only end up covering a fraction of the costs. Where are they going to get the rest from? That's right, from you and from me and from all of our neighbors and from all of our friends and from all of our relatives and pretty much anyone who makes a buck for a living. Everyone in the United States of America would end up with much higher taxes. We're talking the middle class, the lower middle class, the working class, the upper middle class, basically all of America. Totaling up the 9 largest proposals in the DSA party platform would mean new federal spending equivalent to 18 to 53% of GDP. Mind you, our debt is at Greek-level styles right now, outpacing our annual GDP. Can you imagine what adding this to that would do to our standing on the world stage, would do to the dollar, would do to the certainty that people would have or not have in the United States of America? Each proposal is massive in scope. Universal health care, for example, on the low end will cost at least $40 trillion, upwards of $75 trillion. Federal jobs guarantee, this almost sounds paltry, $4.5 trillion on the low end to $60 trillion on the high end. Housing, let's build houses for everyone. And trust me, these won't be really nice houses. These will not be McMansions. These will be little tiny home cubes, right? And they'll all look the exact same. It'll be like living in Soviet Russia. $3.5 trillion on the low end, $16.5 trillion on the high end. I could go on and on and on. You got green energy, infrastructure, and investments here, publicly funded retirement, free college. Yeah, free, right? None of this is free. We're just all paying for it. Medicare for all style proposals for universal health care would increase federal spending by $40 trillion to $75 trillion over the next decade. Reparations, federal jobs guarantee, infrastructure, green energy investment, larger retirement benefits. The list goes on and on and on. This exercise is inherently imperfect, which is why the estimates vary so widely and should be understood as orders of magnitude estimates. They likely overstate the cost where programs overlap with each other or existing spending. They likely understate the cost by failing to fully capture exactly what the DSA would ultimately do and how Americans, the markets, and the economy would actually react to this absolute insanity. Internationally, that would result in higher spending as well. It would basically become a global shock. It would basically result in a cataclysm of spending that would probably absolutely immolate most of the U.S.'s, if not the entire world's economy, which seems to be what the purpose of socialists and communists always are. Tear everything down, get rid of all the old institutions and structures so they can create this mythical, fake, phony, never going to happen utopia in their minds. This has been tried, folks, in many ways, in many places, by many other nefarious people. Some of these people were actually smart people. They were just evil. They were like the Dr. Evils, right? Of the Mike Myers fame, Austin Powers fame. But they never ultimately work. Why would we in the United States of America, the land of freedom and liberty, the land of milk and honey, the land of peace, prosperity, and always upward mobile opportunity, why would we even want to engage in such a Frankenstein experiment? It has been a disaster everywhere else in the world. It would be a disaster here as well. But in addition, it would cause the world to suffer if the world's beacon of freedom and liberty were hobbled in this fashion with $200+ trillion of debt. Insanity. I hope Americans reject it. I hope that somehow sanity reigns supreme. And that's the Speaker's stump speech for today.
You know, to put those numbers into some sort of context, I read a story today that the United States debt is scheduled to reach $40 trillion by the end of this week. A couple of the programs that you talked about were 40 to 75 trillion just alone.
Mm-hmm.
It took us 250 years to accumulate $40 trillion in debt. Some of these programs would accumulate that with just one program. That's just astounding.
It's really hard to envision this, except when you make it in comparisons to something like that already exists. I hope everyone understands that would be crippling for our country. It would be insane, and we don't need it, right? We don't want everybody to be sucked, attached to the government teat from cradle to grave, doing everything for you. Our research, our entrepreneurship, our development would completely dry up and go away.
And they always talk about, well, we're spending too much on defense. We spend 6% of our GDP on defense. Half of the United States budget goes to entitlement programs. But, of course, they don't ever want to cut those programs. But they never make that comparison at all. They just think we're spending just these enormous amounts on the military when that's not where the money's being spent. It's on welfare programs.
Indeed, it is. All right, that is Speaker Stump Speech for today. We're now going to take a quick break here and come back with Joe Steiger. We're going to shift gears quite a bit here, and we're going to speak to the business manager of the St. Louis Police Officers Association about an unfortunate incident allegedly involving Mayor Kara Spencer, the ongoing budget debate in the city, and the general mood among our men and women in blue in the city of St. Louis. All of that straight ahead on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms with heavy rain and some gusty winds overnight into early Wednesday morning. This will probably make for a slower Wednesday morning commute with a low of 71. Clouds and an isolated shower thunderstorm linger into the afternoon to evening, a high of 81 degrees. Cooler because of all the clouds and the rain, but the heaviest rain will be in the morning hours. Thursday, partly cloudy and a high of 85. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
1019 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
If you don't have Jones Air and Water filters, products, services for your home or your business, then your body is the water or air filter. And that's not a good thing, because wouldn't you rather have inert objects taking stuff out of your bad stuff out of your water and air, and not your body having to take all that gunk out of your water and air? Yeah, you do. Jones Air and Water, your one-stop shop for all of your air and water needs. They're at joneswater.com, joneswater.com. If you go to joneswater.com, you'll see that they've completely revamped their website. You can check your water by area by just punching in your town or your zip code there. Jones Air and Water services the entire region of the city and county of St. Louis and all of the Collier counties and beyond, including St. Charles, Lincoln, Warren, Franklin, and Jefferson. They will come to you. They will test your air or water. They'll do it very quickly. They did it in my Jones home. And then they will advise you on what would make your life and the life of your family members, your colleagues, your coworkers, your friends, their lives easier when they're visiting your business or your home. We have the reverse osmosis water system here at the station. We have it at our home as well. That is a great building block. You need to drink a lot of water, especially summer. Actually, you know what? Year-round, you really need to drink a lot of water. Winter, summer, doesn't matter. It is the basic building block of life in our bodies, and you need to start by drinking good water, and that is provided by that reverse osmosis system. They also have the HTO system, the whole home filtration system that we have. It takes out all the microplastics, takes out all the junk that is not taken out, even if you're on a municipal water supply. And our water is really good in our region, but it still has stuff in it that doesn't need to be put into your body. So you can get that HTO system. And my favorite product right now this time of year, it has been running on full blast and it's been doing a great job. The whole home dehumidifier takes out all that nasty humidity, allows your HVAC system to run so much more smoothly, so much more efficiently. You can actually bump up the AC a little bit because you're taking all those water molecules out of the air. Makes your home feel a little crisper, a little cleaner, a little fresher. We love it in our home. You'll love it in yours as well. Jones Air and Water is found 24/7 at joneswater.com. Jones Air and Water at joneswater.com. joneswater.com.
Hey, when pests invade your home, you need someone you can trust. It's Jamie Allman here, and at Buckingham Pest Control, they're not just your exterminators. They're your neighbors and friends. A locally owned family business and St. Louis Magazine A-List award winner, providing affordable, quality pest control. Plus, they offer energy-efficient TAP attic insulation, the only insulation that controls pests. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
Hungry at midnight? Craving a home-cooked breakfast at noon? At Gingham's Homestyle Restaurant, we've got ya 24 hours a day. For 35 years, folks have been coming back for our famous fried chicken, bone-in catfish, country fried steak, slow-cooked pot roast, scratch-made pancakes, or a slice of homemade pie. Daily specials and a loyalty rewards program that actually pays off. There's always a reason to come back to Gingham's Restaurant in St. Charles. Skip the wait. Join our wait list on Yelp or at ginghamsrestaurant.com.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hi, this is Congresswoman Ann Wagner from Missouri's 2nd District. I work every day to put more money in your pocket, secure the border, protect our shared Missouri values, and keep our communities safe. Whether it's visiting one of my public events in neighborhoods around the district or by contacting my office, I want to hear from you. If you need help with a federal agency, please contact me at wagner.house.gov.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
License number GL2500615.
Hey, Dad, what causes drains to clog?
Grease, hair, soap scum, and tree roots.
Tree roots?
This town has old pipes and big trees. They find each other.
They grow inside pipes?
They bust into pipes.
Whoa.
Once they're in, the water stops flowing.
Can we fix it?
The big green grasser machine can fix any clog.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
Hi, I'm Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe with an important message from Missouri 811. Every day, underground utilities like gas, power, water, sewer, and fiber internet keep Missouri running. These vital services are the backbone of our communities, but digging without contacting Missouri 811 can put them and you at risk. It's fast, it's free, and it's the law. Contact Missouri 811 before you dig.
Call 811 every dig, every time.
It's the law. This ad is brought to you by Missouri 811.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Tonight, St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer is responding to accusations she used a police officer's funeral to discuss pay and benefits with fellow officers. The alleged incident happened last week during services for an officer who died by suicide. The president of the St. Louis Police Officers Association, Martin Garcia, calls it, quote, callous, disrespectful, and beneath the person holding the position of mayor. In the statement, the mayor says the union is mischaracterizing those conversations.
And welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. One quick note here: we have several great events coming up here at News Talk STL that we are either hosting or co-sponsoring, what may have you. We've got the Lincoln Reagan Day dinner in St. Louis County coming up mid-September, near the end of September. The big dinner with Paul Kurtman and Nick Shirley. All of that is at newstalkstl.com. All of those events and more are at newstalkstl.com. Forgot to mention that earlier, so I want to get our little PSA in there. And now let's bring Joe Steiger, business manager of the St. Louis Police Officers Association, into the conversation here this afternoon. Joe, good afternoon. Thanks for being back on the program with us.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks for inviting me on.
Welcome.
Indeed. Joe, I don't know how much you want to comment on these allegations involving the mayor and that incident, that clip we played regarding the funeral. The first question I wanted to ask you, though, was this is a very tragic situation. A lot of times I know we focus, I think we do a pretty good job here at the station of focusing on the elements of mental health and PTSD when it comes especially to our military. But I think we need to keep in mind, Joe, that the job of a law enforcement officer, of our fire personnel, of our EMS and first responders, they're all dealing on a daily basis with some really rough stuff. They may not be in an actual war zone, but sometimes it may feel, look, sound, and act that way. And they're dealing with real-life trauma, and sometimes that trauma can get internalized, and mental health is a big deal and an important deal, an important situation amongst police and first responders, isn't it?
No, you're absolutely right. And thank you for bringing that up to start, because that is important for us to raise awareness about suicide and mental health, and certainly to encourage people to seek help. We need to erase the stigma about seeking treatment. I think since I've been back here as the business manager, there's been about five suicides in about 4 years that I've been back from our police officers. So it's a far too common crisis in this profession, and we certainly need to start working harder on trying to find real solutions to address it.
Joe, what can you tell us about the alleged incident at the officer's funeral where the mayor was allegedly polling officers on pay and benefits? I think that I applaud her for attending the funeral. I don't think the previous mayor would have attended that service, but give us the background on what happened.
Sure. So this was for Officer Kevin Bradford, who tragically committed suicide at the funeral service. I wasn't involved in this conversation directly, so this is what's been conveyed to myself and President Garcia in our organization. But essentially, what began as what I would say is a more casual conversation turned into what was more of an informal survey talking about pay and benefits and asking officers if they were willing to trade retirement benefits for maybe higher salaries. And, as far as our concern, an impromptu inquiry of officers at a funeral service is it's inappropriate. I don't know what other reason she would be doing that other than to give herself some sort of talking points for a political debate. It's just not the right time or place to do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Joe, bring us up to speed in general where setting aside this unfortunate situation, the topic is an important one. Where is the St. Louis POA in conjunction with the mayor's office on this overall issue of officer pay? Has there been any progress made over the last few years? Are we at a stalemate situation? Tell us the 35,000 foot on that.
Yeah, so I don't know that anything's changed since the last time you and I discussed it on your program, but there's still the debate over the pay of the benefits. Over their budget debate. Pardon me. That's still pending. So not a lot has made. Not a lot of difference has been made yet. But over the last, say, since about 2023, we have been able to bring our officers' salaries up. We've gotten several different raises that's brought them a little bit more competitive to the surrounding areas. So their starting salary is closer to the $60,000 range, which is competitive. It's still behind some of our counterparts in the county, but part of that is having a good competitive salary and also having a good competitive benefit structure. So they go hand in hand. So again, that's a great conversation. That's a great conversation I would love to have personally with the mayor. Having at a funeral of a police officer that committed suicide with young men who were his friends and classmates is just inappropriate.
And I agree. This was a pretty tasteless situation for the mayor to do this at the funeral. But I do want to ask, why did the St. Louis Police Officers Association make this public? And does that show kind of the relations between the mayor's office and the police officers?
Well, Chris, the incident, this didn't happen in a vacuum. Earlier this year, the mayor didn't attend a funeral for an officer that actually was killed in the line of duty. And then there was another a recent police academy graduation where she spoke and used that occasion as a way to make political points instead of celebrating these officers and their families that sacrifice and choosing to go into this noble profession. So the POA, the Police Association, we posted a statement on our own social media, our own Facebook page. We didn't call reporters. We didn't hold a press conference. We deliberately did not even escalate it. We had reporters that had contacted us and asked us to sit down for interviews, and we declined that. It was just something we believed our statement stood for itself, and it needed to be said.
Mm-hmm. We're speaking with Joe Steiger. He's the business manager for the St. Louis Police Officers Association. You may look up the association online. They're at slpoa.org, slpoa.org. Joe, summertime tends to be a little more busy time. Everyone's out of school. It seems like that's when some of the most, let's say, interesting things happen in our region. The most nefarious things happen. We've also seen some reports that the most violent crime has been down so far this year. I know we have a long way to go, but that's a good start. How's the summer been thus far in the city of St. Louis, would you say, from the law enforcement angle?
Yeah, I think, great credit goes to the police officers who are out here on the street every single day, working hard, doing way more with less to provide a safe space for the city residents and for all the people who come in here and spend their hard-earned money in the city. Things have gotten better. I think if we could get some more resources for these officers that are out here in the street, keep putting people through the police academy, get more help in the districts, and I think they'd be able to do an even better job. But they're doing the best they can with what they have, and I think you're seeing the results of what they've been doing.
Joe, the St. Louis Police Department announced last week a aerial response unit that's built around 6 drones and supported by the St. Louis Police Foundation. A lot of people are going to be concerned about privacy with drones and the police controlling drones. Allay those fears of people and tell people exactly what will these drones be used for.
Yeah, I think the program is still kind of being hashed out here. The police board is looking to set up some policies before they get things going with it. So it's still kind of in its building phase, but I think it'll certainly be a help to the officers. When you are low in manpower, you have a certain number of officers that are covering bigger areas. We only have the 6 police districts as opposed to 9, so you have officers that are covering bigger areas with less bodies. So have some of these calls that they can send a drone out and check the intersection if there's, let's just say, an accident call, and they get to that intersection, the drone can say there's no accident call. Now you're not wasting that resource of a police officer driving all the way, sometimes miles to get to it to say, hey, no one's here, they already left, and they can better use those resources in different areas. So that's just one example, but I think overall it's going to be an exciting program once they get everything worked out.
Mm-hmm. Joe, what are the different things that the POA and or the officers in general do in regards to the business community? You and I were downtown a few weeks ago for a mutual friend's wedding, and we actually stayed downtown that night. And we were fine, we were safe, we were good. There were some people there milling around, but the thing that struck me more than the safety factor was, we need more activity downtown. Like if there's not like a Cardinals game going on or something like that, downtown appears to be vacant, and that needs to reverse, right? And I know that has to do largely with how the perception of how safe business owners feel downtown. So what all are you doing with the business community?
Yeah, you're exactly right, and the whole idea that you look at what Governor Kehoe's whole plan was to get the police department back under a governor or a governor-appointed board of police commissioners and start focusing and making this city safe again, right? Bring businesses back down into the city. I know the department just put about 9 additional bike officers that are geared to just downtown St. Louis to address some of those problems. And you're 100% right. It's the perception, right? So it's the perception that it's not safe. So if you have that visibility where these folks who have businesses or are wanting to come invest in St. Louis, if they see it, they visibly see the police and they feel safe, then the businesses will come. So visibility is a big part of that. I know the Police Foundation does a lot of great work with our organization and with the department itself, and I know the police department is engaged with other business organizations trying to address all that.
Joe, there was a dramatic incident in North St. Louis last week. 2 19-year-olds shot at ATF agents and St. Louis police officers. Can you give us an update on that? And a question that I've always wondered, because I see the reels with the gangbangers and everything, where do they get these high-powered automatic weapons?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have an update on the status of any of that case information, but yeah, it's a dangerous situation that these officers are dealing with out here, having these types of weapons, and we've always been an advocate to have police have those same tools to match that so they can deal with people who are carrying these kinds of weapons and the dangers that they pose to the citizens and the residents up in St. Louis. So we're thankful for our partners with the feds that come in and give us a hand with all this. It's dangerous work, but it certainly helps having them all involved.
Speaking of Joe Steiger, business manager, St. Louis Police Officers Association. Joe, I know one of the biggest, most visible of charitable events of the year is a very popular one, Guns and Hoses, in conjunction, of course, with the Backstoppers in November. Are there, and that's a great event. It's a marquee event. It raises tons of money for the families of the injured and the fallen. Anything else you'd like to bring up where folks, our listeners are generous people who love to support military and law enforcement families? Any other resources or items you want to direct our folks to?
Yeah, I mean, Backstoppers is a great organization. Our organization itself has a golf tournament that we do annually. It's September 21st. It's in Stone Wolf over in Illinois, Fairview Heights, Illinois. What we do with that is we use that money, every dime that we collect in that, we use to help officers who are injured in the line of duty. We help to do charitable donations, and it helps us with our community outreach events. We do a toy drive with a community in the city each around Christmas time and help provide families with toys that they can't afford for their kids. So if anybody's interested in doing that, the information's up on our website. We'd be happy to have people come out and support that.
Fantastic. That is Joe Steiger. He's the business manager with the St. Louis Police Officers Association. That website where you can get information on that event and so much more is slpoa.org. Joe, thanks for everything that you and all the fine men and women in blue do in the city of St. Louis and beyond. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you as well. That's Joe Steiger. All right. It is 5:45 in the p.m. I have to jump out of here quickly. I got to go to a dinner for I'm too late for it. So I'm going to turn you guys over to Chris is going to run the show. But Lauren is going to have to pay extra special attention.
And we've got an update. Our boss, Joe, brought us in regarding Harriet Hageman, why she's not running for re-election. She's running for Senate.
Oh, running for the U.S. Senate.
So that's why she is not running for re-election. Thank you, Joe.
Chris, we have a lot to watch tonight.
Yeah,
we have primary results in Alaska with their crazy jungle primary ranked choice voting system. We've got the primaries in Wyoming. We got the big primaries in the big kahuna state of Florida, and so much more. How will the Democratic Socialists do versus the regular Democrats? What are the Republicans going to be putting forward? We'll bring you all those that recap tomorrow as well. So Chris is going to talk about big tech, right, when we come back?
Yes, big tech getting a big comeuppance.
Mm-hmm. And then the story behind the story, a famous festival that is experiencing a famous milestone this very year. Larry Connors will tell you all about that and more at 6:05 when we come back on Tuesday's edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1, News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms with heavy rain and some gusty winds overnight into early Wednesday morning. This will probably make for a slower Wednesday morning commute with a low of 71. Clouds and an isolated shower thunderstorm linger into the afternoon to evening, a high of 81 degrees. Cooler because of all the clouds and the rain, but the heaviest rain will be in the morning hours. Thursday, partly cloudy and a high of 85. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So Sam Page's trial doesn't start till January. Now, why is that? So we can interfere in this year's November election for county executive, huh? We'll ask Mark Carter that Wednesday, right after Vic Prevents.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Tired of being the main course at your own backyard barbecue? Meet the Mosquito SWAT team. Every member is a licensed technician who custom mixes your treatment on site. We've got over 15 options, and we never lock you into a contract. Take back your backyard, themosquitoswatteam.com.
Calling all Patriots. Join the St. Louis County Republicans for the annual Lincoln Reagan Day Dinner, Saturday, September 19th at River City Casino. Our keynote speaker, Newsmax personality, Rob Carson. Enjoy a full night of fun and information alongside state and local officials and candidates. It's an evening you won't want to miss. Dinner and program, just $75. For tickets, email Renee Artman at hotmail.com or call 314-398-6667.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo, and it's tough to pick, but my favorite sandwich at Capriotti's is the cheesesteak with a side of Cap's awesome fries. Visit Capriotti's now at 2 locations on Manchester at McKnight and Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
Looking for insurance you can truly trust? Since 1986, Bauer Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses across Missouri and Illinois. Owner Cindy Blanton doesn't just offer one quote. She shops all the top carriers like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, and more to find you the best rates. Whether it's your home, auto, toys, or business, we've got you covered. Visit us at Mid-Rivers Mall in St. Peters or call 636-812-2001. Bauer Insurance Agency, the company that protects, the name you can trust.
Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps.
OpenAI is launching a version of ChatGPT that is designed for teenagers. More kids are already using it for schoolwork, questions about daily life, and even companionship. The company says ChatGPT for teens is tailored for kids ages 13 to 17, and it has stronger protections than the normal version. It also provides homework and study support designed to help students learn rather than just spit out the answers.
5:50 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. And Lola, we're going to turn the show over to you for a couple of minutes because during the break, you gave us some late-breaking rock and roll news. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, according to Fox 2, founder of ZZ Top, Frank Beard, drummer for the band, many great singles, a lot of hits on radio. Chris, he passed away.
Wow. All of our rock and roll heroes, legends, they are in their 80s, mid 80s, and we can't expect them all to live forever.
Right.
But,
what a shock!
Sad.
What a shock that is! What a shock! When Ozzy passed.
So there's only one original ZZ Top member left, right?
I believe so.
I think one of them died a couple of years ago.
I believe so, yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir, for that update. We need some update music next time. Right. Something like that. All right. I am watching the news right now, and there are demonstrators in front of the Dearborn City Hall, and I was wondering what this was all about, so I looked it up. Apparently, this demonstration is centered on a planned Christian Crusader March. It's organized by conservative activist Jake Lang and Detroit pastor Lorenzo Sewell. The advertised purpose is to oppose what organizers call the Islamification of America. Promotional messages have included, "We will not surrender to Islam," "Stop the Islamification of America," "Crusade," or "Be replaced." Dearborn was chosen because it has one of America's largest Arab American and Muslim populations. The demonstration was timed to coincide with tonight's city council meeting. So now I know why I'm seeing all of these people in front of the Dearborn City Hall. I hope there's not any violence tonight. We had on the prior segment Joe Steiger. He's the business manager for the St. Louis Police Officers Association. And we talked about a couple of violent incidents that happened in the city of St. Louis. But according to statistics, violent crime is falling across the nation's largest cities. Since 2025, the first half, homicides are down 17.2%. Homicides compared to 2026 compared to 2025, homicides are down 17.2%, as I said. Robberies dropped 16.6%. Rapes declined 6.2%. Aggravated assaults fell 5.7%. Taken together, the four categories were down about 8.3% for roughly 14,000 fewer reported violent crimes. Even the nation's capital, D.C., which was known as the murder capital of the United States, 46 homicides, that's down from 43.9. I wonder who that 0.9 person was, from 82 in the first half of 2025. Homicides in Memphis fell 43%, and Houston 154 to 95, and Philadelphia recorded 83 homicides, down from 27.2% from 114. So we keep seeing all these statistics. We have Patrick from the Show Me Institute tell us that crime is coming down. But I got to tell you, when I see these stories on TV and I go to my newspaper in the morning, it's just hard for me to believe that crime has dropped this dramatically, because it seems like the mayhem is getting worse and worse. But according to the FBI, crime is down. So go figure. There was a big row over the weekend. John Ossoff, he is running for re-election for senator in Georgia. He decided to take a shot at President Trump. If you remember, President Trump switched planes in Turkey and took only a few of his staff members with him. One of them was named Natalie Harp. He made a reference to her in a speech he gave over the weekend. That is Senator Ossoff, saying that Trump took only her and a couple of other people. Really was riffing on the president. Well, of course, you know the president can take a lot, and he gives a lot as well. The president responded today by saying that Ossoff was a Pee Wee Herman lookalike. And if you do look at Senator Ossoff, he does kind of look like Pee Wee Herman. While his communications director, Stephen Chung, he went a bit further. He said the senator was, quote, the biggest cuck loser in politics. He said that on X. So president giving as good as he gets. Google, remember I did a Chris's Corner last week, how Google and some of the email servers were sending Republican donation requests to their spam folders. Well, Google has rolled out a new program that will allow candidates, parties, and PACs to more easily bypass Gmail spam filter in their fundraising requests. The new program will begin on September 8th, the day before the GOP's midterm convention in Dallas. So I don't know. Maybe they heard the Chris's Corner last week. Maybe they listened online and they decided to change their practices. Joey's smirking over there, but I'm taking credit for it, Joey. Spam or Google has changed their policies because of last week's Chris's Corner. Lolo, are you a big Spotify guy?
Not really, no.
I'm not either. I don't believe in paying for music. You know, I don't want to pay for music, but I know they'll give you like 5 or 6 songs. Then you got to listen to a 30-second commercial.
Mm-hmm.
I can deal with that. I don't need to pay and just hear continuously no commercials.
Whenever I do listen to Spotify, though, I always listen to all the wonderful podcasts on News Talk STL.
Look at you putting in a plug. Well, Spotify last week joined the exclusive 300 million paid subscribers club. The music streaming app joins Netflix as the only major global streaming platform known to have reached that milestone. 300 million people by $9 a month? That is a lot of money. Speaking of AI and robots, a fleet of small robots will begin mapping out the Logan Circle neighborhood in D.C. in preparation to make deliveries for Uber Eats and DoorDash. People within about 1 square mile of Logan Circle will be able to select a robot option in their delivery apps. Coco Robotics, the company behind the robots, soon hopes to expand to other neighborhoods in D.C. So you may be getting a robot near you delivering your food, but of course St. Louis is always behind everything, so we'll be here in about 3 or 4 years. All right, that is the end of the show. Next, of course, is Larry Connor's USA. The story behind the story, Woodstock, 1969. I was 3 years old. Listen to Larry next. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
If I live right now, might make it somehow, but I doubt I could pay attention.
As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond.